Hi, this is Matt Donegan at Challenger Stories. I'm here with Ed Nieburg from the National Tennis Organization. Ed, tell me about the National Tennis Organization.
Hi Matt. Yeah, thanks for inviting me onto the show. The National Tennis Association is a community interest company based in the UK that provides tennis management and coaching services to a range of different tennis organisations, ranging from we operate in local park sites. We support local tennis clubs, indoor tennis centres, schools, universities. So we offer a range of support, management, and coaching services across those areas in tennis.
Okay, so how long has the organization been going?
Um, Technically from 2004, but it was founded through a partnership of two regional businesses. So I co-founded National Tennis in 2017. But before that, I ran an organization called Community Tennis Association. So we just changed our name to National. And that was off the back of meeting my co-founder, Chris, who also had a regional coaching business in the east of the country, based in Norwich. And we met at the National Tennis Centre where the LTA are based. And over the course of a 12-month period, the stars aligned, and we decided that actually we could make a wider impact going from a regional business by merging together in 2017. So I actually started community tennis back in 2011, but Chris started his regional business back in 2004. So we always say that we launched in 2004 because that's when the core of the provision started. So that's how it evolved.
Okay, how many sites do you have now?
Um, Around 225 tennis courts. I don't know off the top of my head how many sites. It's over 100 sites that we manage at the moment, and that can range from, as I say, park sites to indoor courts to traditional tennis clubs.
Okay, and in terms of the business growth, the organization's growth, um, at the moment, how many coaches do you have that are used with the public, with your end customers?
So we've got around 100 coaches, and I would say just over 60 of those are full-time tennis coaches, and then the majority are part-time, and their roles range from delivering our core group weekly coaching program to individual coaching, and then all of the ancillary activities through competitions and holiday camps and adult courses as well that we do.
Right. Okay. So are you recruiting more coaches into the organization as you grow?
Constantly, yeah, we're constantly recruiting at the moment. I mean, tennis has had quite a boost post COVID, a bit like golf, where a lot of people want to play tennis, and we've, since well, I think last year's stats were, globally in the UK, were an increase of over 40% in terms of participation. I think prior to COVID, the stats were sitting around 3.5, 4 million people playing tennis per year. Well, last year's stats were close to 9 million. So there's quite a demand for tennis at the moment, and it's great for us as an organisation. There's lots of people playing, but it's also created a perfect storm in terms of workforce, because every coach is very busy, and we're constantly increasing demand on our coaching programs, and we're always consistently trying to fill that demand. So yeah, we're always recruiting at the
Yeah.
moment, and we probably take in about 5 to 10 new coaches a month at the moment.
Wow, that's very significant. That's a
Mm.
large number. And I'm right in saying it's not just tennis either, is it? You have related businesses. Badminton is one, I believe, and there are some others.
Yeah, so tennis and the badminton business are kind of my core businesses that I operate. Badminton is a company called National Badminton. Again, it's a community interest company, and that was founded off the back of meeting a tennis coach who came to me back in 2016 looking for tennis coaching work. I knew her as a badminton player because she medaled at the Commonwealth Games. She was number one in the world in badminton, and I said to her, well, what does badminton do in terms of coaching provision? Tennis, we're going through a journey of modernizing tennis and bringing it into the new age. It's very old school before we started the operating tennis in the way that we do now. But badminton was on a completely different level. It was all completely volunteer based, no structure, and we after a few conversations, I said, I don't want to recruit you as a tennis coach. Why don't you come and work with me, and
Mm.
we'll replicate what we do in tennis into badminton. And then we founded National Badminton in 2017, and that's very much a coaching only organisation. So we don't do venue management, but I see that as scaling just as quickly as tennis. And yeah, we've got coaching sessions running as low as Penzance in Cornwall, and I think as high the highest we go is I think it's Hull up north, and we've got pockets in Manchester, London, and across the country. So yeah, we've got a good 50 coaches so far that work for us on the badminton front, and it's scaling quite rapidly as well.
So you're looking to take over racket sports, aren't you?
Yeah, well, yeah, because we obviously there's a big shift in people wanting to play offshoot sports, as I call it, paddle tennis,
Yeah.
pickleball. They're great sports, but they're a lot easier to just pick up a racket and play. Badminton's great because you can actually pick up a racket, and if you've got okay coordination, you can have a rally between yourselves. Tennis is a little bit harder because the ball comes a lot faster. It's a bigger court.
Yeah.
But paddle tennis and pickleball are a lot easier to pick up, and
Yeah.
they're quite popular at the moment. So they're sporting disciplines that we're proactively looking at how we can get involved in the future on.
Yeah. It's fascinating what you're doing because you're effectively building the grassroots system or managing the grassroots system right the way through the country. Is that the aim for the organization at the end?
It's always to impact grassroots. Uh, my, uh, my goal is to if we can generate a mass participation on the grassroots, we're going to find a few gems in there that are going to be able to go and medal at the All England for badminton, or potentially go deep into a Grand Slam tournament, maybe even potentially win Wimbledon. If we look at Novak Djokovic, who's probably what we call the GOAT in tennis. It used to be Federer until Djokovic completely ran away with it.
Yeah.
He's one in billions that can do that. So it's like finding a needle in a haystack when it comes to performance. And my motto is, well, actually, don't try and isolate maybe 10 or 15 players and work with them consistently and hope that they've got the attributes to become a Novak Djokovic.
Yeah.
Find good coaches to nurture a million players within our grassroots programs, and hopefully one of them will go and make a name for themselves.
So what I find interesting is with tennis in particular, there has been a reputation over the years of it being quite elitist. And clearly what you're doing is well, you're saying that's not the case because you're opening up to the wider population.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, years gone by, that there has been that. Well, there still isn't a perception of elitism in tennis. That's once you actually knock on the door in the tennis industry, you find that that's not the case. We've since I think 2007, we've been supporting parks tennis, implementing what we call smart access onto park courts, and that is putting a gate system on and closing the court so people have to book a court. But you can have a family pass for 30-40 pounds a year and play all year round at no extra cost and book a court for you and your household. So when you break that down into, if you were to utilize a tennis court 365 days a year, you're looking at 5p a day to play tennis. And
Yeah.
what we do is that 30-40 pounds from that family pass goes into a sinking fund to make sure that those courts on the park are club standard courts. Whereas when I was a kid, if I went down to park courts, they would be they just weren't fit for purpose. Nets weren't up, the surface was awful.
Yeah.
So we provide a low cost access entry that that money then goes into reinvesting into improving those park courts.
Yeah. Okay. Fascinating. Absolutely fascinating. So, um, this is challenger stories. Okay. So, what are the challenges that you have that you're currently facing with your organization with growing it?
There's always lots of challenges in business, but I would say if for us, I feel that we've cracked the code in terms of how to acquire players, increase participation. But as a result of that, we need to scale, and we've got big ambitions for both businesses. But the biggest barrier for us is workforce and facility in tennis. So in tennis, we've got a very bold ambition to get 1 million people uniquely playing within national tennis, whether that's court bookings, coaching, holiday camps, etc. And realistically, that's probably a 20-year blueprint to get to 1 million players. At the moment, as I say, we've got as it currently stands, about 9 million people out of what is it, 65 million in the UK that play tennis, and we're trying to impact 1 million of those. I think the participation rates will go down a little bit. They're a bit heightened at the moment, just because of what I've said before. But at the moment we're only seeing 30,000 of those 1 million. So we've got a long way to go. So when you break it down, we've got to find 850,000 people booking a court with us each year or playing on our facilities, and 150,000 on the coaching program. So we actually need to find 1,500 coaches to achieve that, because we work it on the basis of a coach can see roughly on average 100 people per session. So we've only got 100 coaches in our workforce at the moment. So we've got 1,400 to go. So that's our biggest barrier. We've got to find those coaches, and there's only between 2,500 and 3,000 coaches in the country, and we're not going to be able to inherit all of them. So we're looking at ways to innovate, because there is also a perception a bit similar to the elitism perception that the public see in tennis, but there's also a perception that tennis coaching isn't a real job. Well, it is. We salary all of our coaches, and a lot of our coaches, do make a good living. Yes, it's unsociable hours in most cases, but it's a good life. And but the perception for tennis coaching, because of that, the old school approach and not that modern approach, is that you just do it after work and you do it on a Saturday and it's part time.
Yeah.
Well, most of our coaches are earning well and have a good work life balance as well.
Yeah.
So that's the barrier in tennis.
Yeah. No, I can see that. Um, these are really big, ambitious goals, but they're 20-year goals, aren't they?
Yeah, yeah.
So I've recently worked with a client who had, it's a great story actually. I spoke to him when I first spoke to him, he said he had a 25-year business plan, and he was in the 20th year. And I spoke to him and I said, "Hey, you've got 5 years until your exit." And he said, "No, I haven't. I've got 4 years, 9 months, and 1 week."
Mm.
Are you that precise in the date that you're aiming to achieve your goals?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. It lines up with my 60th birthday. The 20-year goals pretty nicely. So, and we've got an absolute strategy to be able to achieve that as well. We know that the way in which we're scaling in terms of national tennis at the moment, if we carry on that trajectory, we're going to be way off pace in 20 years. We've got to innovate and figure out new ways to increase increase that participation level. The two restrictions are workforce and facility. If we don't increase our portfolio of tennis courts that we manage, there's no way that we're going to get to 850,000 unique players playing on our courts. And we need more coaches as well. On
Yeah.
the flip side, in national badminton, it's actually a lot easier to scale, because our our business model there is to create coaching provision, hire schools and leisure centres, and book courts, and then put on the provision. Now we've got no restriction to do that. If we find a coach in Glasgow or down in Southampton, for example, we can just go and scope out what facilities are around, put the provision on, put our marketing um, funnel in place, and bring players in. The coaching is launched. Whereas in tennis, the barrier is that it's a bit more of a closed shop. Tennis is either in parks managed by local authorities, or in tennis clubs that are traditionally managed by
Mm.
committees. We can't just go into a facility and book a court and put a coaching program on. So we've got to find innovative ways in the tennis business to be able to scale to achieve that 20-year plan.
Yeah, that's that's a real eye opener to do, to the way that you're addressing that. Are you finding that because of your goals and your ambitions, are they aligned to potential sponsorship opportunities as well? Because it seems to me a massive opening for anybody who wants to get involved in grassroots sports up.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. We've very much been really meticulously focused on just increasing participation. So court bookings, coaching participations, etc. And we haven't really focused much attention on anything else ancillary. So when it comes to sponsorship, yeah, we do have partners at Adidas and Technifiber for kit sponsorship, but we've got quite a lot of real estate in the UK when it comes to tennis courts, and
Mm.
things like being able to sponsor Court One, Court Two, and other commercial sponsors. That's something that we really need to look at,
Yeah.
because we've got a quite a big audience now, and yeah, there's so many different avenues to be able to increase awareness. Um, yeah, but at the moment it's very much focused on participation and the core business activities that we do.
Okay. Yeah. You've got a fascinating journey ahead of you, haven't you? I mean, you've got massive growth, you've got huge commercial opportunity, you've got really big ambitions. And we've discussed briefly what the biggest challenge is around bringing talent. And when I say talent, I mean coaching talent into the business, as well as I'm sure lots of other areas of the business as well. What's been your biggest challenge to date? What's been the thing that's kept you awake at night that you've managed to get over?
That's a good question. I think over the last couple of years we've scaled quite rapidly, and we've been I can't say how many tender processes we've gone through with local authorities. We've been working very closely with our governing body, the Lawn Tennis Association, on a park regeneration project that was supported by government. So the LTA and central government putting 30 million into renovating parks all across the country, and we've been one of the key players in taking on operation of those parks. So
Mm.
this year, I think out of the 200 odd courts that we've got, 100 of those actually launched this year. Plus, we also launched 2 indoor tennis centres. We've launched 2 cafe offerings at 2 of our venues as well. So it's been the busiest expansion year that we've ever had. And I think the thing that's kept me up at night this year is the sheer amount of workload that we've been having to navigate through this year.
Yeah.
And also, while scaling, you've got that in the back of your minds, like we've got to scale to generate new growth, new revenue, but we've also got to invest initially to be able to achieve that end goal. So then, as we scale, it does hurt the coffers a little bit in terms of your cash flow.
Yeah.
So that they're the two kind of elements that have been the challenges. And I suppose it's just you've just got to get through it. You've just got to have that sheer determination and grit and fearlessness to say that it's not going to fail. We are going to launch this,
Yeah.
and it will work, because a number of projects that we have launched are from scratch. They could be that a lot of them are brand new multi-site park projects that have been effectively derelict tennis courts over the last 10, 20 years. They've
Mm.
had an amazing, some of them have had £500,000, £1 million refurbishment program put in, and then we're then tasked to go in and activate those tennis courts. Well, we
Yeah.
don't have an active audience, so we have to go out and find that
Mm.
whilst meeting our obligations on rent from day one. So every new project that we've launched this year, it feels a bit like I'm launching a mini business
Yeah.
within the overall business.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. I can completely see that. I mean, what you just described in the last 12 months is effectively 100% growth. I mean,
yeah,
you've doubled your inventory. I mean, that's a huge undertaking, and I'm sure you've done the numbers, but yeah, I'm I'm also sure that would have caused a few sleepless nights. So well done for doing it. Not many people have gone for doubling up in a year. So congratulations. But also, if you're going to get to your or to get not if, but to get to your goals, these 20-year goals, you're going to need to continue that growth. So absolutely, it's probably the right approach, I guess. So what's your number one learning been over the last few years?
work with amazing people and be prepared to share in success. Um, you know, entrepreneurship is a very lonely gig.
Yeah,
Between 2011 and 2016, when I met my first business partner, Chris, I did it all on my own, and it's a lonely place, and I would definitely say try and find someone to share in success.
yeah,
And when you do find gems, what I call gems, really, really good people,
mm,
innovate and work with them and share in that success. And that's what I've done with Julie, my co-founder in National Badminton. And it's a funner journey to go on when you're working with others. And I always find, there's that narrative of, well, if I share in my success, I'm going to get half of that return because I'm having to share that. Well, if you bring an extra person in or an extra few people in, they're going to increase output and innovation, and you'll end up in a better place regardless. So yeah,
yeah,
that's my number one advice: work with good people and don't
yeah.
do it all on your own.
Absolutely. Couldn't agree with you more. You know, teams are what builds companies. The word company meaning group defines that really. So yeah, absolutely right. Recruiting the right people, that's also, that can be a huge challenge. And I'm sure as you expand business at the pace you're doing, that will continue to be a challenge for you. Um, and I speak to a lot of entrepreneurs and a lot of business owners who start off a business on their own, and it's across the board. It's described as what can be a very lonely life.
Mm.
Um, you have often you can be the last one to get paid, you're the last one to get a rise, you're the first person that anybody ever complains to, and you're the last person to get a pat on the back. And we all need that at times. So well done for fighting that good fight because it can be a tough place. I don't know, is there a book that you've read, by the way, that's kind of helped you in your journey?
So I'm not really. I have to say, I'm probably one of the only people in business that probably doesn't read books. I very much listen to podcasts,
Yeah,
and
they're great as well. Yeah.
I commute a lot to different meetings, and I use that time uh, to learn and innovate. So if I were saying what's my top podcasts at the
Yeah.
moment, they're all business related, and there's a podcast called The Game. There's a chap called Alex Harmozy,
Yeah.
an American, and he's very good, and he goes into all the intricacies, mainly around marketing and just business growth. And they're 30-minute snippets. I find them really. If I need a boost of inspiration, I'll go to that podcast. And then if I want to kind of make myself level headed and make sometimes you doubt yourself and what you're actually doing in the journey. I kind of want to listen to other business owners that are going through similar journeys. So I listen to the Founder podcast, which is hosted by Nathan Chan, who interviews people right from startup all the way through to, you
Yeah.
know, multi-million-pound businesses as well. So yeah, that keeps me informed. So they're kind of like my two top choices.
Love Hormozy. I mean, his books are fantastic as well.
Mm.
$100 million leads and $100 million deals, both essential reading if you're going to market and sell in any environment. I love his style as well. It's quite high energy, quite fast speaking. So
Yeah.
yeah, and the game is a great podcast. So yeah, totally agree with that. Another great one to listen to on Audible. you could try it out on Audible if you're not into reading so much and like listening. And that's The Hard Thing About Hard Things. That's a great book. That's the real story of someone developing the business and to see what journey they've gone through. So that's a fantastic read if you ever get a chance to do
Awesome. I'll
that.
take a look at that.
Yeah, one of my personal favorites. I absolutely love it. Ed, look, thank you so much for your time today. Really appreciate it. Well, you're looking at a tenfold increase in the next 20 years. You've got some real challenges ahead of you. If anybody defined challenger stories, I guess it's you and what you're doing with the business and the businesses surrounding the National Tennis Organization, the National Badminton Organization, the ancillary businesses. You've come a long way already, Ed, and you've got a long way to go. And I know you're going to enjoy the journey. So thank you so much for your time today. I've really enjoyed speaking to you. Let's keep in contact. I want to hear all about what you're doing with your organization. Thank you so much. Bye bye.
Appreciate it, Matt. Thank you.
Thanks. Bye bye.